And there was a situation, and many of us were aware of that situation, where God really intended to excel in the land. God wanted to show his strength and his mighty works in that land. And he knew that one of the only way he can do that is to ensure that he hindered the people from the prime way for them to survive, which is rain. Rain and sun are the number one primary requirement upon the earth. Do you realize that? Water. Without water, without sun, nothing can exist, including you. Is that okay? The plant need the sun. We need water. It's out of water that we now produce food. We have food, right? You farm, you do all these things. Okay? So when God shut down the heavens by allowing Elijah, his beloved, to shut down the heaven, it was with the intention that the people can come and beckon upon him. Because a time came where the people did not recognize the one true God. They serve idols. They are good at serving idols. They believe they want a God that is an idol. And idols are worthless doctrine. They don't have power to do good. They don't have power to do evil. Every power an idol have is the power you ascribe to it. So it's an insult to the creativity of the Creator for mankind to serve idol. One of the greatest sins on the earth is the service of an idol. And anything can be an idol, including yourself. And that is the reason why you must be careful anytime you are serving God. When anything becomes the center of the pursuit apart from God himself, it becomes a challenge. And I realize that God is in a job to destroy idols, no matter what it will take him. So anytime somebody in your life, you exalt the person beyond God, God do something about that relationship. God does something about that advancement. If you have a business that means so much than God, God sees that as an idol, so he fight that business. If you have a girl or you have a guy that means more than God, God does something. There is nothing wrong with the person. But God realized that that's the thing that occupies the primitive position in your heart. If your ministry or anything takes more position than God himself, it begins to cause things to happen to you that will make you return back to him. So God realized that these men have deprived from him. So he cast something to them. And one of the things he has to do is to shut down their rain, their supply of water. And he has to beckon upon one of his choice servants, which is Elijah. Elijah has been known to always do the biddings of God. And he appeared like a man from no man's land. He came to the scene strangely. He said, as long as the Lord liveth upon whom I stand, there shall neither be rain nor dew until at my word again. And suddenly it shut down. And I know that the kings of those times have the advantage of Chaldeans, astrologers, magicians. They have the advantage of all kinds of governing powers on the earth system. So they must have beckoned upon all of them to bring rain, and they could not. That is the reason why they bowed to Elijah at the tail end, because they tried their best. If you know, some of us came from villages where there are rainmakers. It will shock and surprise you how they can bring rain, no matter how you do. And sometimes when they want to attack weddings, attack occasion, they brought rain. And if you study science, rain is nothing. It's just a formation of quite some few things. You realize that? Water is just hydrogen and oxygen. You can create artificial rain. I learned of a country that creates rain. They release those gases in the atmosphere after a while rain fall. So when God wants to create rain, God supplied those things in abundance. Do you know God is the one that actually created everything? So the rain you see coming, sometimes even when you are flying, you discover that rain is falling on the here. But when you are in the plane, you don't even know rain is falling. So you still see the sky open. So where does it come? It's God that ensures that those elements combine together and they fall. I don't get my point now. It's not as if there's a place they are falling in. It's just a combination of certain elements for it to fall. So we can form rain here if you bring the required under the required atmosphere. Do you understand what I'm saying now? But by the power of God, a man stopped rain, and all their scientific understanding and their spiritual understanding could not bring rain. But we saw something very profound that was not given light in that book of Kings. It was James that had an understanding. And he said, Elijah is a man of like passion like you and I, right? And he prayed earnestly that there should not be rain. But we thought Elijah just came and declared that let there be no rain. That means before Elijah came to the scene and said, let there be no rain, he actually had a time and a moment of prayer. Are you getting my point? So we saw what happened in the backside. It was James that gave us an understanding of that. Because James saw in the vista of the Spirit. He might not have been around when Elijah was doing it, but he saw in the vistas, in that same realm upon which he beckoned upon rain. He said Elijah was a man of like passion like you and I, but he prayed earnestly that there should not be rain. So it then means that Elijah saw the level of atrocity in that land, and he felt, God, this is the greatest thing you can do that will make everybody wonder. Cease their rain. And God said, well, if you can pay the price for it, I will cease the rain. So Elijah decided to go pay the price for it. So Elijah prayed earnestly that there should not be rain. And as he prayed earnestly there should not be rain, when he felt that his prayer has struck a chord in the Spirit, he came and stood and made the declaration as a powerful man. And of course, the rain stopped for 3.5 years. But do you know that since the rain stopped, him too need provision? He's still under the heavens. So he's still on the earth, under the heavens, right? He's not in the heavens, he's under the heavens. It then means that him to survive by this same ecosystem. So now how does he have to survive? God have to find a way to provide to him through ravens and the rest. But when the moment was complete, that same protocol he engaged, he has to engage it again. My question here is that how did those people survive for this long without rain? If one season of rain is missing in Nigeria, do you know how much the price of goods will increase? Because when there is no rain, a time comes that even the rivers begin to dry. A time comes when by nature there will be drought. That means at that moment the price of everything, cash crops, increase so well. Only the king does not have famine because the king has a lot of supply. But Elijah himself was fed by ravens. But what we saw here was that somehow God achieved his aim. Because at the tail end, men begin to seek for God. They begin to pray to God. Because when men pray to their idol of faith, they begin to seek for another God. Because the men that worship idols are not really devoted to the idol as you think. They are just looking for an advantage. No wonder in the book of Acts of the apostles stepped into a land and they found the people having all kinds of altars. And they even have another altar dedicated to an unknown God. That peradventure, one day will realize there's a new God. This is the altar already prepared for it. And when the apostles step into a land, they begin to tell them about an unknown God. So they added that God to the other catalogs of God. But after a while, they realized that this unknown God is actually the one true God.